part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our fantabulous producer, Ty Courts, making sure all of you out there in the podcastosphere get the R&R podcast. And Michael Reghi, the NBA season has finally come to an end. And congratulations, for the first time ever in franchise history, the Denver Nuggets are NBA champs, and well-deserved, Michael. I thought through the regular season and the 20 games they played in the postseason, in which they went 16-4, they were indeed the best team throughout this entire year.
Roadman, always terrific to be with you. Good to be chopping it up with us together again. And of course, to all of our R&R podcast aficionados too. And yeah, you know, Kenny, and for me, I was hoping it would finish this way because of Michael Malone. If you remember, Michael Malone, Brendan Malone's son, all the years I called the Cavaliers, I think for 3, if not 4 years, he was an assistant coach on the Cavaliers staff. I really have always thought that Brendan is a hell of a basketball mind, his dad, and a lot of that certainly came down to his son, Michael, and so he's done a terrific job with that basketball team. Kenny, and as you and I know, I mean, sometimes now you say, well, yeah, he's got Nikola and he's got Jamal Murray. But Kenny, as we know, sometimes with those kind of talents comes some problems. But I think they're so good in how they do it and how that team has come together. And Kenny, the way they've been built, I mean, they've been built. This is a team that's truly built, right? I mean, a team that they were drafted together, they were put together, and they were built together with Michael Malone over the course of the last 4 years. And I don't know, do they have the very best player in the NBA right now, by the way?
I think so. Reg, I think he's the best player in the world right now, the most complete all-around player in the world, and maybe hitting his prime after winning 2 regular season MVPs. I thought he should have got a third this year, but he'll take the NBA Finals MVP any day over a regular season NBA MVP, because that means you probably won the NBA championship, as Jerry West is the only guy, I think, in NBA history to win an MVP on a losing team. So you'll take that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, pretty hard to dispute that he isn't, right? And I mean, Kenny, you look at the numbers too that this guy put together. I mean, points per game average during the playoffs, a little bit over 30, virtually a triple-double, right? Averaged a triple-double, did Nikola Jokić. And I mean, so it's hard to say that. And the way he goes about it, Kenny, there are times that I think it's like, I get him and say, why are you passing up shots, man?
Right.
But he seems to, he has the way that he makes it work with his basketball team, and just a terrific run. Ken, I think they went 16-4 in the playoffs. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
Now that's, you know, again, to me, that's enormous. I don't care whom you're playing in the NBA. You know, go through 4 playoff series and go 16-4. That's pretty special. So yeah, big time congrats to them, and I'm real happy for my former Cavaliers buddy, Michael Malone.
And Michael, if there ever was a home court advantage, this was a perfect example of it because of that mile-high air. They lost 1 game at home in the playoffs this year. That's it. Yep. So going to Denver, there's something about, you know, we always talk about the South Beach flu in the regular season. I think that's definitely a factor, the South Beach flu, because you maybe you're there 2-3 nights, right? So you might go out and enjoy yourself, and it's only the regular season. Well, in the postseason, everybody's more focused, and that South Beach flu doesn't factor in, whereas in Denver, the mile-high air is always going to factor in, even sometimes with the home team, but they're more used to it, and they adjust to it. They know how to handle it a little bit more. So I think that was a big factor. And just having the best player in the world and a Miami team that overachieved, in my opinion, but give them credit.
Yes. Yeah.
Part of their overachieving was due to the culture that is there because of Eric Spoelstra and how hard they play, and with 5 undrafted guys. So give them all the credit in the world. Hey, Boston choked, Milwaukee choked, but you know what? I've got to give Miami some credit for making some of that happen and getting to the finals for the second time in 3 or 4 years, whatever it was with the bubble. So there's something to that culture there in Miami, but they were just beaten by a better team from top to bottom.
And part of the significance to me, Ken, and I throw this out there, is that, you look at it and you say, and this is why, and I think it starts, you mentioned Eric Spoelstra, indeed, tremendous head coach. Pat Riley, though, the president of that organization, and that's the way he's been his entire career in terms of whether as a player and his playing days with the LA Lakers, and then, of course, his coaching stints that got him to a couple of NBA finals with the New York Knicks, and now the president of the Miami Heat. Kenny, you looked at him, and I mean, I don't know. If you want to discuss, we can't. I don't think they're all that talented a basketball team, to be honest with you. So what I'm saying is agreeing with you. I give them a world of big ups because of the way. I mean, Kenny, they're small. Yep. They don't have a lot of size, and I mean, you can jump off this if you want. To me, look, I got a world of respect for Jimmy Butler. He's a damn fine NBA player. But Kenny, he's not a superstar, man. He's a real good player. But I don't see him as a guy who can, if he's your number one guy, you better have a damn real strong number two. And I don't think Bam Adebayo is that guy. So to me, they've got to do some things. Again, I'm not disparaging Butler, but Kenny, look at last night. I mean, he went 5 of 18 from the floor, and he hit his last 3 shots. So at one point he was 2 of 15. And then, again, if that's your guy that's got to go and in playoffs win you games, I think they need more help for him, without a doubt. Now, if they get somebody to make him, their 1A, fine. But if you're counting on him to win you a championship, boy, with what they have and as small as they are, I don't see it.
Here's the one thing I will say about him, and don't know if this is true or not, but there was talk that he played that entire series with a sprained ankle and wasn't the same Jimmy Butler that you saw in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I watched Jimmy Butler single-handedly take down the Boston Celtics, when he was healthy. So I think, Reg, I'm going to disagree with you. I think he's elevated himself into that lower tier of superstar, but I agree with you on the flip side that they do need more help. He's not going to win it for them by himself, okay? They don't have enough to win a championship, in my opinion, like you said, with Bam Adebayo as the number 2 and even Tyler Hero as a number 3 or the number 2, and he didn't play in any of those games. They need more. But somehow, some way, they played in the finals for the second time in the last 3 or 4 years. So there's something to the organizational build with Jimmy Butler as the focal point, but it's proven that they don't have enough to get over the hump.
Yeah.
Whereas the Lakers beat them in the bubble, and then Denver beat them in 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you that, yes, they're good. And Jimmy Butler's, let's say if, we want to put on the verge of being a superstar, but maybe not quite there yet, as he either needs some help or he has to elevate his game just a little bit more.
Well, and now let's, what about our Cavaliers? When we look at that NBA final, are the Cavaliers, where are they in terms of, how would they have performed, do you think? It's all hypothetical, of course.
Yeah.
How do you think they would have played against the Denver Nuggets?
They would have lost 4-0 to the Nuggets and maybe 4-1 to the Miami Heat. So I think they would have won maybe, and I say maybe, one game against either of those two teams if the referees allowed either of those teams to play against the Cavs like they did against each other, because that was a war, Michael Reghi.
Oh, yeah.
That kept Miami in the game. Horrific officiating, and those officials allowing the smaller Heat to get away with a lot of crap, right?
Yep.
To keep them in the game. And the Cavaliers, as soft as they are mentally and physically, they would have been lucky to win one game against either of those two teams, I think, in the finals.
Yeah, I think you're in the right direction with that. Kenny, I've been doing them since our last show. I've been thinking about this every day and watching games from this year, games that we record and watch again. And I got to tell you right now, the Cavaliers I think they've got to make this year, just as a starting point, I think they've got to make Evan Mobley maybe their main presence, Kenny. Their main presence. I need 6-8 more shots a game from this young man. Of course, we want him to get bigger and stronger during this offseason. That's on him. He's going to need to put the work in the weight room and do that. But Kenny, they got to get away. And, I talked about this during the playoffs. It's too much Mitchell and Garland, man, offensively, for my liking. It's too much. You can say, well, Reghi, it's too much, man. You can't have those two guys taking virtually 65% of the team's shots. So to me, Evan Mobley has to be a much larger offensive factor coming into this year. We'll see how if that's the case, I hope it is, we'll see how it progresses. And I want to see the basketball be going to him, take away some shots from Mitchell and Garland and go to Mobley. And, I'll give you another one too. I mean, as your sixth man off that bench, give a couple of those shots, let Karis LeVert go to the hole too, because it's just too much. But Mobley's got to be the focal point of getting this Cavaliers offense, Kenny. It's got to get a little bit more balanced, don't you think?
Michael, JT and I were talking about this exact thing on the Kenny and JT show today on WHBC, and I'll give myself a little plug here. 1480 AM, WHBC.com, live, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. Exactly what you just said about Evan Mobley. He's got to become the focal point of this basketball team on offense, not your 6'1" guards, a pair of 6'1" guards.
That's right.
It's not going to get it done. Mobley needs to become more of an offensive force while still playing at a high level defensively. LeVert more than likely is going to be signed, and then they need to go out and somehow, some way bolster that bench, because we saw how depleted, how horrible that bench was in the postseason. And I'm sorry, I'm not expecting much out of Ricky Rubio this coming season, even though it's the second year after the ACL. I think his better years are behind him. So somehow, some way, with that mid-level exception that they have, or via trade, they need to get a wing player to either put in the starting lineup to bring LeVert off the bench, or if you're going to start LeVert, then you better get another wing player that's a legitimate scorer and with some length, not a smaller player that you can put in there at the small forward spot, Michael. If not, this team's not going to go any further than they did this past year.
Agree. And to me, you got to keep LeVert heading up that second unit as your sixth man. You know why, Kenny? Because what I was just talking about. Think about that. And I want you to just get in your mind's eye. So those games LeVert started, and I'll be honest with you, he averaged 15 a game. I thought he was maybe the most consistent Cavalier player in the playoffs, I'm talking about, in the loss to the Knicks. But Kenny, how much time, when he was playing those 38, how many times possessions he goes and stands in the corner while Mitchell and Garland are doing whatever they're doing out on top of the floor, looking to get their shots? No, you can't. No, that's not the way to proceed. So for me, get Mobley going, make him a much larger package of this offense. LeVert, sixth man, he's going to play his 32, 33 minutes a game, and have him on the floor more when Mitchell and Garland aren't, as I said, dilly-dallying with the basketball together and looking for their own shots. To me, it's too much. It's too, you say, well, Reghi, they're too, I don't care. It's too much of the offense. Mobley's got to be number one, and then you got to find a way to get LeVert a little bit more involved when he is on the floor with Mitchell, Garland, and Orr. That's the way I see the Cavaliers' offense, Ken. If they don't find a way to incorporate some of those things, we're going to get the same thing we saw this year.
Reg, I hope Bickerstaff watched both Miami and Denver and their ball movement and the way they played offensively as well as defensively in those finals, especially offensively, though. The ball movement by Denver, best in the league. Not even close, and I'll even throw the Warriors in there at their pit. No, they don't move the ball like Denver moves the ball. Everybody gets touches. Everybody is a threat to score. One night it was Aaron Gordon in game number 4, who helped them, have a big game and get a victory. Then in game number 5, all of a sudden, Michael Porter Jr. puts up some big numbers. And you had Brown off the bench. So how many different guys stepped up? Why? Because everybody was sharing the basketball, and it doesn't matter who scores. And then when they really need a bucket, what do? They put Nikola Jokić at the foul line and let him do his thing, which means either backing somebody down, turn around, shooting a jumper, or getting double teamed and finding the open man. But the ball movement was a thing of beauty. I enjoyed watching it. Had Mark Price on our radio show today on WHBC. And Mark and I are in agreement. That team reminded me of the Price Doherty Cavs back in the late 80s with Lenny Wilkins running the show as the head coach, and the ball movement that they had using the pivot man in the high post and running some of the offense through Brad Doherty with all the movement, cutting to the basket. So hopefully, the Cavaliers coaching staff watch that, as well as some of the players, so they don't do that damn stanky leg offense again that you and I have been talking about in this podcast. A dribble. Oh, got to shoot, throw it up there. You know what I mean? No, that crap's got to stop.
Yep, and you made a great comparison. And again, I mean, the Denver Nuggets, they find a way, don't they? I mean, Jokić and Murray are getting theirs, but you get Porter involved, you get Caldwell Pope involved. So let's hope that this is a part, as you said, Ken, of the Cavaliers may be looking to try to take a page out of that Denver Nuggets book about how you best in totality get your offense to where it needs to be.
All right, Reds, let's get a break in right now. When we come back, we're going to talk some Browns football. They finished up with OTAs. They're off now until training camp starts in mid-July. We'll dive into that. And the Guardians on the comeback, Michael Reghi. Look out now. As we tape this, baby, only a game and a half out of first, even though they're 3 games under 500. Thank God for the AL Central Division. We'll get into all of that and much more when we return on the R&R podcast.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast proud to be sponsored by MGM Northfield Park. Live racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. First post is 6 p.m. Doors open daily at noon for simulcasting. And how about this? Wednesday, June 14th, it's the Plinko prize drawings. Receive a free $2 match play and entry form to fill out to win a chance to drop a chip on the Plinko board and win up to $250 in cash. Drawings will be held in races 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. Registration is 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, June 14th. And then on Sunday, June 18th, our live racing card will feature 3-year-old filly trot in the Buckeye Stallion Series. Where's that happening? That's happening at MGM Northfield Park.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the R&R podcast, brought to you by MGM Northfield Park. Don't forget the big promotion happening on Wednesday, June 14th. It's the Plinko prize drawings, a chance for you to win $250 in cash at MGM Northfield Park. All right, Michael, OTAs are in the books. Thank goodness nobody got hurt. Now the Browns are off for about 5 weeks before they return to open up training camp early because they're playing in that Hall of Fame game on August 3rd. Against the New York Jets. Reg, what did you take away from what you read, what you saw, what you heard about OTAs with Kevin Stefanski's squad?
I think, Kenny, the obvious, we were looking at how Deshaun Watson was going to perform as you and I have laid out, I don't know, about 600 times since the Browns played last and during this offseason, that this is all going to be about how, to what level Watson hopefully is able to rise his quarterback, his skills to, again, as he going. I'll take him getting back to where he was, as a Houston Texan a few seasons ago. I think that would certainly get the Browns where they need to be. But Kenny, the other thing for me, I'm intrigued with new defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, the former NFL head coach. I think he's going to add a little bit of vim and vigor to the Browns defensively this year. Now, again, we know there are some areas that flat out guys just got to be able to, damn it, play better, right? But I like what Schwartz and what he has done in his career as more of a defensive-minded, whether he was a head football coach with the Detroit Lions or in his stops in the National Football League as an assistant. So to me, actually, I think Schwartz and how that defense, again, hopefully rises, Ken. I don't know, dare I say that might outweigh a little bit, I think, of where we really, really got to hone in on, maybe at least equal to Deshaun Watson in the offense, huh?
Reg, the offseason moves that they made defensively were necessary, and I think they checked all the boxes with the exception of the linebackers, but they don't seem to give a damn about the linebackers, really.
They don't
as
care.
long
You're
as
right.
they got the 4 up front and the 5 in the secondary, they'll play the 2 in that nickel package and be happy with that, right? So adding Delvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, Obo Okoronkwo, I think they did an admirable job realizing their weaknesses, probably hearing it from Jim Schwartz as to what they needed, and then going out and getting the help up front, along with adding some veterans like Juan Thornhill in the secondary, as well as Rodney McLeod. I think they did a very nice job in addressing their needs and fulfilling, the needs to make Jim Schwartz a happy man and have no excuses about that defense.
You're absolutely right. Zadarius Smith, too, is going to be one that I think certainly gets a lot of burn in how he plays. You mentioned Tomlinson up front, but Kenny, again, maybe they don't give a damn about linebacker play, but I know I sure do. And I hope JOK, right? Owusu Koramoah. I mean, he missed the final 4 games, did he not? With that foot injury last year. You got to get him back. What about Sione Takitaki? Is he recovered from injury?
I don't know when he'll return.
So you got 2 guys that are starting linebackers that are they going to be available to play for you?
And then your other one is coming off injury too, and Anthony Walker.
Anthony Walker, you're right. So all 3 of them. So there you go. Maybe it's something they're just kind of, throw under the mat for a while and see how it plays out. But you're right. they don't converse a lot about the linebacking situation right now. So, Ken, I think, and as you said, because of them playing that Hall of Fame game, I mean, well, what are we looking at? We're in mid-June right now. What are we looking at? About 3 weeks away before training camp begins for them.
July 19th, I think they report to Greenbrier in West Virginia. Yeah,
you're right. The West Virginia resort. So about a month away, a little in excess of a month. So we're going to find out real quickly about them. But yeah, I'm going to be looking at that Jim Schwartz led defense pretty much as the offense right now. I mean, I think Jerome Ford, right? I mean, Kareem Hunt's is Jerome Ford going to be? They love him. I've liked what I've seen of the young man, but we haven't seen a whole lot of him, so we can't really say that you know concretely what he's going to be all about. But you're going to have to find some ways to, get him some carries and get him involved so, that you're not asking Chubb to play Nick Chubb. You know what? You don't want to play him 60 snaps a game. So let's hope for it. And then the receiving core. And Kenny, the more I've thought about it, well, I'm good with where they're at. Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They brought Elijah Moore in, who'll work out of the slot. The draft of Cedric Tillman, right? So there's 4. And Marquise Goodwin as well, a veteran. And I don't know. I'm not sure David Bell now. I like David Bell, the young man from Purdue, more of a possession guy. But Kenny, I don't know if he's going to make the football team. I named 5. They have to keep 6 for Bell to be number 6. Because I think those first 5, Cooper, Peoples-Jones, Moore, Tillman, Goodwin. There's your first 5. Notice I did not utter the name Anthony Schwartz.
He might be playing in the USFL the next time he puts a uniform on, or the XFL. And try and work his way back into the NFL, Michael. So, hey, nothing wrong with the USFL and the XFL. In fact, I went and watched New Jersey play not too long ago, and there are some talented guys playing there. But that's to hone your craft to try and make the NFL. And Anthony Schwartz is far from being an NFL wide receiver. Is he fast? Yes. Can he catch? Can he run routes? No. So that would be a good spot for him to try and learn and get better. But you can't have him as any option, in my opinion, on this team with the Browns if you're going to contend for the AFC North Championship and a playoff spot.
Well, yeah, he's going to. I named the 5 guys that I think are going to be ahead of him without question, and so it might be 6. So we'll see where that goes. But Kenny, and again, we know. Listen, if Deshaun Watson can get, because he wasn't anywhere near good enough to be have this football, he needs to be top 10 quarterback in the NFL, certainly top 12, Kenny. Certainly top 12. Watson's got to play at that kind of level. And then, I think that's going to be good enough to get them where they want to go. Now, does that win the division? I don't know. Does that get them a playoff berth? I don't know. But I think that, they're going to need to win 10, if not 11 football games to be able to realize these things we're talking about.
Reg, Deshaun Watson needs to do with his receiving core what Patrick Mahomes did with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and whoever else was playing wide receiver last year for the Chiefs. He needs to make them better, right? He has to be a player that can improve the talent level, not based on bringing new guys in, but taking the guys that are currently on the roster and elevating their level of play. So that's what they need out of Deshaun Watson if they're going to challenge Joe Burrow and the Bengals, or Lamar Jackson and the Ravens for the division championship and get in as a playoff team, if not by a division winner, as one of the wild cards.
Yep, no question about it. And listen, I think they're not going to sign DeAndre Hopkins, and that's fine with me. That's fine with me.
I'd like him, but I'm leaning towards that side of things. The more I hear about what he's asking for and what he wants, I wouldn't pay him that either if I were the Browns.
There you go. So, and he's 31 years of age, by the way. And I've been told Made a couple of calls since we've last done our pod. Not the biggest guy at liking to practice. Talking about practice, man.
He's got a little Allen Iverson in him, huh?
We're talking about practice, not the game that I love and die for. Yeah, he likes to, maybe find a way to take a day off here and there from Tuesday to Thursday, shall we say.
He loves load management, huh? He's like an NBA player.
Maybe he missed his calling, right?
Yeah. Well, that's fine if they feel, and they should know better than I do, because I that's their job. I'm a talk show host. I'm going on by what I see, what I read, not by what I know, like they do in the front office. They feel that their receiver room is good enough. Okay, then stay with it as is. Right now, go out and prove it on the field. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly. And you know what? We just went through it. So I'm okay with where they're at. And again, now, hell, after this year, I'm not sure. Is Amari Cooper going to be on this football team after this year? I don't know. You're going to have to re-sign Donovan Peoples-Jones. And I mean, hey, look, he just 900 yards last year, 61 receptions. So he's going to say, hey, I'm the number 2 on this team. I want a little more money. So I don't know, but that's Andrew Berry's situation. But I know that group is going to have to be in concert with Deshaun Watson for this offense to be where we were all just talking about and want it to go.
All right, Reg, let's give some love to the Cleveland Guardians because as of late, Reg, in their last 5 series, they are 4-0-1. So they've won 4 of their last 5 series. They tied the one series with the Twins 2-2. And they have climbed a bit within a game and a half of the Twins as we tape this. And tonight, as we tape this, they're going to open up a 3-game series in San Diego and then go to Arizona, 2 teams that have a lot of talent. So it's going to be a good road test for them, Reg, but they're finally starting to hit the baseball on this last homestand. Reg, they had back-to-back games where they scored 10 runs. You heard me correct. Double-digit runs in back-to-back games, not a whole month's worth of runs. 2 games, 10 runs each game. They averaged over 6 runs in the 6 home games. They averaged 25,000 fans per game as well. So the fans are showing up for this team. The hitting's starting to show up for this team. Is the Fighting Franconas, are they starting to turn this thing around as the weather heats up, Reg?
Well, again, listen, baseball, you play it every day, right? And if the winds are starting to stack a little bit, which the Cleveland baseball team has shown that they can, I'm not ready to quite call them murderer's row just yet, Kenny, and offensively. And
except for Will Brennan, he murdered that bird on the diamond that day. But and since that, he's hit over 400. So a little sacrifice there. May the bird rest in peace. Has helped the Will Brennan become a legitimate big league hitter since that happened against the White Sox. A few weeks ago. Yeah,
and I tell you, Josh Naylor is really started to produce and drive in a lot of meaningful runs, hitting the middle of that lineup. And he hit the 3 bombs the other night, of course, but it hasn't been as of yet a typical first 2.5 months swinging the bat for Jose Ramirez. But you don't worry about Jose. He's going to, when it's all said and done, I'd be shocked if he wasn't hitting at least 285 with the 25 to 30 bombs and hopefully drive in that 85 to 90. And, they're going to need that. If he can do that, get back to where he normally is, and Naylor stays as hot or even anywhere, it's going to be tough to stay as hot as he is. Every swing right now, Kenny, he is barreling balls up. He's hitting the ball hard. And so, I mean, offensively, I don't think as an entire offense, they can continue to put 5, 6, 7 runs up a night, but enjoy it while you can.
278 Ramirez has climbed to, 282 Naylor has climbed to as we tape this. 10 bombs for Jose, 8 for Naylor, 38 ribbies for Jose, 48 for Naylor. And Naylor, I believe, Reg, the last I heard, is leading the league in RBIs after the 7th inning on. So he's coming up with timely hits, clutch hits, and they're going to continue to need that. And also, Josh Bell finally starting to swing the bat a little bit better. That average for him at 236, it doesn't sound like much, but when he was in the $190 area to be up to 236.
Yeah.
That's a positive. And like I said, Will Brennan, how about this? Now batting 304 on the year. And all kidding aside, I don't know the why or how, but since the incident, as they're calling it, happened, he's become a better hitter, and they need that from an everyday right fielder because they have an outfield that doesn't hit home runs. In Miles Straw in center and Stephen Kwan in left. And while Brennan, I don't think is going to hit it out of the ballpark 25 or 30 times a year, hey, you get 15 out of him, at least for this season, the rest of the way. You'll take that based on the way the first 2 months of the season went.
Yeah, and they need to continue. Right, Brennan's got to continue to be put in the lineup every day. Tito Francona, you got to put him in the lineup every day and let him swing the bat. And again, I think maybe Francona seems like he's finally locked into Ramirez, Naylor, Bell at 3, 4, 5. So, hopefully you can. Stephen Kwan's probably, if he hits 275 and has a decent on-base percentage as your leadoff guy, and I know he likes to hit Ahmed Rosario in that 2-hole. Same thing with him. He's been a little bit more timely. On-base percentage very key for him as well, because those three we talked about, Ramirez and Naylor and Bell, you want them at every chance possible to be hitting with runners aboard, Ken.
Rosario, Reg, I'll be really surprised if Rosario is on this roster after August 1st, the trading deadline. I think that they're itching to play Hirokio or either who's the other kid I'm thinking about that's been up for a cup of coffee. And they bounce him in and out of the lineup. Oh gosh, shortstop, and he's played some Arias, Gabriel Arias.
Gabriel Arias.
Yeah. Right. So I think they want those guys in there sooner rather than later. So I think they might be looking for some bullpen help maybe for Rosario. And the other thing to keep an eye on come August 1 is what do you do with Shane Bieber? Do you keep him for the rest of this season and then consider dealing him in the offseason or next year at the trading deadline, or after a heck of an outing the other night, shutting out the Astros in 7 innings, his, value may never be higher this season. Do you start taking phone calls on him now, knowing he ain't coming back here? And I didn't know this, Reg. He switched his agent.
Right.
Did you know who he signed with?
I know.
Drew Rosenhaus is his agent now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well,
he is Rosenhaus's star client as far as baseball goes. If you go to his website, Terry Pluto told me this. He said, go check out Drew Rosenhaus's website. He said, look at the baseball section. All you see are pictures of Shane Bieber. That's it. So he's pushing Shane Bieber to try and get other clients. So you know what that means. Drew Rosenhaus is going to make sure Shane Bieber gets paid. So that ain't happening in Cleveland. That's why I say I don't think it's if. I think it's a matter of when the Guardians, Indians, if I call them that, whatever you want to call them these days, when they trade him, not if they trade him, because ain't no way he's taking a hometown discount like Jose Ramirez did.
No, good call on that too by you, and that's something we're going to have to take a look at. No question about that. But we'll see if they can get to the top of this division right now. Yep. I'm starting. I don't know, 83, 84 wins may win the AL Central, huh?
85 is, I think 85 might be the magic number, Reg.
Can you imagine that? So we're talking about if we go a team that goes 85 and 77 can be a division champ and play October baseball, huh?
Well, if you remember in 97, I think they won 87 games, right? So
I remember well.
Just get there because you ain't getting there in the wild card out of the Central. So you've got to win the division. Whatever that is, it has to be one more game than the Twins or the White Sox to win the division. And so I'm not being as concerned as I was early in the year, Reg, about how many wins they get this year. Now that I look at baseball and I look at the Central, all I'm concerned about is whatever that number is, whether it's 79, whether it's 80, 81, 85, whatever, one more than the White Sox or the Twins and get the postseason.
Please, we cannot have a division winner that plays under 500 baseball.
Reg, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
the game
with Tom Brady made the playoffs at 8 and 9. So just get there.
I got you, but man, I don't know. For the game itself, the grand old game of baseball, I don't want to see it in a playoff Star Division champ that's 82-80. Something just doesn't sound right about that.
I know. It doesn't look good, but I'll take it if they can get there, Reg.
All right.
One other thing before we get out here. What do you do with catching? When do you cut bait with Mike Zunino and bring up Bo Naylor?
My God, Mike Zunino defensively. What has happened to him defensively? The balls that just handcuff him, balls that aren't even, it should be nowhere near a pass ball. He just doesn't catch and put away. I don't know. I don't get it. You got to start catching Gallagher, don't you?
More often, and use Zunino if you're going to keep him as the backup. And I hope they don't let his price tag get in the way of doing what's best for the team. And I've got to believe, whether it's the controllable years date that they're waiting on or whatever it is with Naylor, they give him a chance, because Zunino's hurting the team, looking like a rusty gate swinging at everything and anything when he's up there at the plate. And then we hear, well, at least our catchers are good defensively, blocking balls, handling our staff, and throwing out runners. Well, Zunino sucks in all three of those categories. Gallagher's much better. So catch Gallagher more if they're both going to swing and miss most of the times. Right. Put Gallagher back there more until you bring up Josh Naylor.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, that's the bottom line. I doubt Gallagher can hit 200 for you, but if he can catch them, and how about some of Zunino's throws that he's been throwing, into the outfield, nowhere close to, second base when a guy is looking to steal, or it's just it looks high schoolish, to be honest.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's embarrassing to be paying a guy that much at the major league level. And I know it looks bad for the front office that you signed him, but you know what? I'll be more impressed if they say, hey, we signed him. It hasn't worked out. We're letting him go, and we're doing this because it's better for the team. And they did that with Franmil Reyes. Why can't they do it with Mike Zunino, right?
That's right. I'm with you 100% there, buddy. No question about it. No shame in that. You gave it a shot. It didn't work out. Now make your team better by moving on. Don't just sit there with it and let it continue to foster and get worse, because that's the only way that one's going to get.
He has batted 121 times this season, Mike Zunino, okay? And he has struck out, let's see, here we go. Mike Zunino strikeouts 60 times in 121 at-bats. That's every other at-bat.
See, that's high school stuff.
Yeah.
Not even good high school stuff, by the way. With all due respect to all of our fine high school coaches and programs here around Northeast Ohio, but it just, you can't keep going with that. We're into mid-June now. They're into 70 games deep. You got to make that move and do it. And, again, don't worry about that it didn't work out now. Just make a move and make it better.
All right, Reds, that's going to wrap up this edition of the R&R podcast. We'll get together here in a week or two and see where the Guardians are at that time, maybe right before training camp starts for the Cleveland Browns. And maybe by then, let's see, June 30th is when you're allowed to start talking to free agents in the NBA. And I believe July 6th. When you can first sign a free agent in the NBA. So maybe we'll start hearing some rumblings about some free agents the Cavaliers are looking at, or dare I say, maybe another off-season major trade to shake things up a little bit with the Cavaliers.
Yeah. Kenny will do that. Always a pleasure, and look forward to doing it once again here on R&R next time we get together soon.
Sounds good, Reds, and thanks going out to our producer, Ty Courts. Great job as always, and to our title sponsor, MGM Northfield Park. We appreciate them jumping on board with us for another year of the Reghi and Roda podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network.